I just use the camera on my Mac and I don't use an external microphone either. I'm really proud of me. And I don't say that lightly because it's been my creation, my concept, my baby. I bore it and I delivered.
What would you say is your main challenge now that you're 7 episodes in? Hi, and welcome to this new episode of my podcast debut, and a very special episode today because I'm with Ade and we've been working together on the release of your podcast. We had our first call 2 months ago when you told me you wanted to launch a podcast on the 4th of January, and we did it, and you did it. And since then, you've already posted 7 episodes, I think. So you've been really like on it, posting every week, very consistent. So congratulations, Ade, to start with. And thank you for everyone tuning in this episode. And I hope you can learn also from Ade's journey on starting her podcast. Ade, my first question to you is how do you feel right now?
I actually feel great. It's great to sort of make a decision to do something and then be able to follow up on it and actually do what I say. Because for me, that's really important that I authentic and true to what I say I will do. So it feels great every week to drop the episodes, but I couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you, Ade. And I'm super glad that I could support you with it. And I also want to honor you for being indeed very consistent in the world of coaching in general, but with podcasts it ties to it also. It's um it's really up to the person to make a decision to follow through, and that's often why they need coaching in the first place. Also, is that um well, there's the technical aspect, of course, and there's things around the mindset, but there can be also that accountability piece, right? Because having a podcast is rarely something like healing a disease or that's life threatening. It's going to be something that comes from a desire, but it's really something you have to do. And so having the consistency and the discipline to actually show up and do it is a big part of the work. And you've been amazing with that. So yeah, congratulations. So you're 7 episodes in now. How's it been?
It's been great. At first, it was a bit daunting, as you expect for anything new, and learning the techie part of it, particularly Riverside. Not that it's difficult, but at the beginning, I felt quite overwhelmed by the process. But you took me gradually through all of that, and now I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but at least I know all the things I need to do to bring a podcast. So I don't find it daunting anymore, which makes me freer to actually enjoy what it is that I'm doing. So
Amazing, amazing. How's it been for you to use Riverside?
yeah, I found it quite simple to use. Have after a few initial hiccups, as you would know, I would be trying to do something, and then I send you a message like SOS, I can't put the music in, etc. But after those initial sort of little hiccups and frustrations on my part, not that it's difficult to use, I guess it's just the learning curve. But once I got the hang of it, it's absolutely fine. It's very easy to use and quite intuitive. So I'm enjoying using it.
Mm. Amazing. And you're also recording, I think, with your laptop, right? Do you have any external mic or camera?
I do have an external mic and I have a phone, an iPhone, I think it's 15, but I don't use them. I just use the camera on my Mac and I don't use an external microphone either. But I find that the final product on the export is really good. So I don't think I need them.
Okay. And right now, with this interview, you only use your Mac?
Only my Mac, no external speakers, just the MacBook Pro.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. People can judge by themselves. I'm on my iPhone 15 without an external mic or camera also, and I think it's good to that people can have a look at what how it can look like with a simple setup like this. Yeah, thank you, because that technical side is often something where people aren't so sure, and I remember that was your case too. But usually keeping it simple, I find is quite important. Has it been your experience too?
Yes, I don't, again, like I said, I was overwhelmed in the beginning, like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I think if I had too many little bits and pieces and ARVs or whatever they're called and all the rest, I wouldn't be able to cope. I'm quite happy with it being simple and not having to worry about all different bits of equipment. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ade. And before we dive more into the podcast, I'd love to ask you something I like to ask my guests here, which is, what is your purpose? Like, what really matters
My
to you?
purpose, what really, really matters to me is justice. I'm very, very high on equality, or rather I hate injustice and I hate inequality, and I'm very, very passionate about women's issues because I think for a very long time women have been marginalized in different ways. In the workplace there's one, in certain cultures there's also a little bit of men are superior. We grew up, maybe all of us, in patriarchal societies. And I wouldn't say I'm a raging, bra burning feminist, but I'm very, very passionate that women should stand in all the power that they have been given from above and to show up as their best selves, whatever that means, career wise, in their families, in every aspect of life. That's my burning passion.
Beautiful. And so, how do you translate that into the podcast?
Well, my podcast is for anybody, but it's directed towards women in particular. It's called She, which gives it all away, with Ade, the one who's me, and we discuss issues from a female perspective, basically. So the issues are the issues, whether you're a man or you're a woman, but I do think we have unique perspectives and ways of viewing things, and unique problems in a way, because we're supposed to be all things to all men, and there is no one size fits all. So we like to take matters and discuss them in depth, um, depending on what the topic is. So, say in January, it was the month of new beginnings, and I went through a series of just education about setting intentions that are in alignment with you as a person and with your purpose, just to give the viewers more of a framework to ensure that they start the year right and on a good footing. And now it's February, and because it's the month of love and Valentine's Day is coming up, we decided to talk about that. So we talked about some of the myths surrounding love, what people sometimes think love is and what it isn't, and a lot about self-love.
Mm, thank you. Yeah, powerful topics. Thank you for sharing that. And another question I'd love to ask you is, so 2 months ago, we were speaking about the idea of a podcast. Now you've published 7 episodes. Do you feel you have a new identity now?
New identity. I wouldn't say I have a new identity. I feel the same. I just feel that I'm giving fuller expression to who I am and how I want to show up in the world and what I want to leave in the world and how I want to contribute um, to the world. So I believe I have a voice. I have things to say. I hope they help. And I just want to share that with like minded people. So, yes, I'm feeling my heart is full because I feel like I'm on purpose. So
Beautiful. And what would you say is your main challenge now that you're 7 episodes in?
hmm. I think the main challenge for me is probably finding guests, not so much for one-on-one, me and a guest, but panelists. Um, First of all, it's more people. Second of all, they're often really busy or live in different parts of the world. So it can be difficult actually bringing together two or three people on the same day at the same time for 75 to 90 minutes that I would require to actually record the podcast with them. So perhaps that's the main challenge right now.
Thank you. Yeah, it is interesting because in your first 4 episodes already that we worked together on, you wanted to start with a panel, which I think is a really good idea. Like having panels and more than a guest on a podcast is really good. Actually, with my channel, The Light Leaders, most of my top episodes, many of them are actually when I had more than one guest. But at the same time, they do require obviously more time to organize because you're dealing with multiple people, and also an additional skill, which is to manage having different people in the room also, and keeping track of how much everyone is speaking, for example, this kind of moderation um, skills. So yeah, congratulations on
I
making that
think that
happen. But of course, if you want to do panels, it can be a little bit more time to invest in the first place in making it happen.
I have to say I enjoyed those episodes the most, even though I find them the most challenging in a way. And when I started, I did feel that I wasn't as good as at moderating, but I think I've
Mm.
improved on that now. So I think I'm far more likely to um, politely moderate and give everybody a fair chance to do their speaking than I was in the beginning. But I do enjoy the panelists episodes. Like you
Mm.
said, it's just organizing it. And I've had people pull out at the last minute for various reasons, and that's another thing. And then I have to think on my feet and be the third panelist myself. So, but that's worked well because it means I can speak more of my truth in the episodes as well.
Thank you. Yeah, like you're touching a topic which is, I think, quite important. It's good to be aware of what role we want to play. And for example, yes, when you have 3 people, it can be maybe you're more moderator, but if someone doesn't come, like in your case, maybe you step up and be like partly moderator, but also one of the people that's going to deliver the value. I would say in general, if you're ready when you have a podcast, I encourage people to show themselves, even if they do interviews, even if they do panels, because the uniqueness of you is also what makes the podcast. And if people follow your podcast, they want to
That's
hear your special approach. They don't want you to be a, a question machine and just someone who's going to ask questions. They also want to hear your perspective. They also want to feel you. And that's how they become people who subscribe to your channel and love to listen to your episodes. And maybe they listen with a guest that has been on 20 other podcasts, but they'll specifically listen to this episode with you because they want the conversation with you, not with someone else.
Thanks for that. I'll bear that in mind.
And yeah, you touch also upon another skill, which is the moderator, which is even for just an interview. And I remember it's been part of the journey of going with the flow and having a conversation. Yes, and at the same time you're the person in charge of that container where you want to have a little bit of an idea of where it's going and maybe don't go too much into tangents, and that will depend on the style of the uh, podcast host and of the podcast they want to create. You know, you could be very intentionally creating conversations with Ade, and it's like we sit for 3 to 4 hours and we just talk. And that could be a great design, but in most cases, it's not going to be that. Mm, sometimes it might be okay, I want to do a 30 minute or 40 minute. And what I do, for example, with the light leaders in general, I like to have one, let's say, main direction. And then if I want to have the same person on 3 different topics, I can do 3 interviews. But usually when I have them, I like to have one direction. So for the viewers, there's also an idea of what am I going to learn from that? Why am I here? And it doesn't mean we need to be too strict on it, but to have that kind of guiding light. What has been your experience with finding that balance between flow and structure?
I I think I'm somewhere in the middle. So I have my structure laid out, um, and I do tend to cover the questions that I feel I want to ask, but then I'm also guided by the guest as to what direction they're taking it, and I feed off them. Um, but I think I'm able then to redirect still back to my question or the structure that I have put in place, whilst allowing the tangents to come and addressing some of those, and then still bringing it back to base.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. And obviously, all these skills, like you learn them very fast already. But of course, it's gonna get even better and better as you practice. Same as public speaking, asking the right questions, keeping that management of structure and flow. It's all something that we keep learning. But yeah, from what I've seen, it's already been really well learned and implemented in your case, Adi. Which is to my next question, which would be, what are you the most proud of about this podcast?
That's quite a difficult question because there's lots of things. I think I'm really proud of me. And I don't say that lightly because a few years ago, I probably would not be able to say that. But I am very proud of me, because it's been my creation, my concept, my baby. I bore it and I delivered. So I'm very proud of the fact that I actually did it, or I'm doing it, if you like. I'm also very proud of the conversations that we've had. I think they're very pertinent, and that people who are of a mind can learn a lot from them. And within the pride of me is the fact that I have personally grown a lot, even in that month or two that I've started. Because, like, in December this time, I didn't know any of this stuff. So I have grown. I have put something out there that I believe is of value. Yeah, so that's what I'm proud of.
Mm, beautiful, and congratulations. And when you say you have grown, I'm curious, do you have, can you be more specific?
Well, like I said, the technical aspects of it were terrifying to me. I couldn't there was so much information coming at me when I tried to do the research, how to do it, so many different platforms, so many different equipment, all of this. And I was very, very overwhelmed. And I joined a few groups on Facebook just to see if I could learn from others. And that's where I met you, Alex, and you offered to help. And I thought, yeah, I definitely need help. So I'd go for it. And I think the fact is, I knew that I needed help if I was going to bring this baby to birth, so to speak. And I was able to ask for it. Um, you taught me how to do things, you tutored me, coached me. I've been able to implement those things. And so I've learned skills for instance, that I didn't have this time 2 months ago. I've also produced something that wasn't in existence 2 months ago. And yeah, I'm continuing to learn and develop. And as I research my topics, I'm learning and developing as well. So all of that together is what I mean by growth. I've also made quite a few new friends, which is amazing, because your guests become your acquaintances and friends, particularly if you keep in touch. I've met some amazing women. I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it is also on top of the growth that you mentioned and all those elements, a great networking tool and a way to open up opportunities. Thank you so much, Ade. And I'd love to finish with quite an open question, which is there anything else you'd like to share with the people who are viewing today?
Just that, if you feel that you want to get your voice out there and you want to use this medium to do it, just do it. Had a lot of fear, if you like, around it initially, but here we are 2 months on. I'm in a very happy space doing it. I'm more confident. You can do it. You don't need a lot of equipment. If you've got something to say and you want to do it, do it. If you need help, like I did, Alex is fantastic, very patient. He was with me as well. So reach out to someone who can help if you need the help, but don't let that hinder you. Don't let that stop you from doing it, because you can, and the world needs your voice.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ade. That's beautiful. I totally echo that. We're all here for a purpose, and the world needs to hear our voice. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for also doing what you're doing and your own consistency and work that you put into that. And thank you to the viewer. If you're still there and watching this, I appreciate that. And if you want to start a podcast also, or you're in the process of it, I'd love to have you on this podcast, my podcast debut, and we can have a conversation. So you can check the description and we can get started with it. And even if you want to work together and want help on starting your podcast, anyway, I like to start with this now. I like to start with getting people on this interview so they can experience how it is from the guest side, and then it makes it easier actually to start being a host. Much love to everyone.